Thank you, Roland Bubba Grimes. I like those hard claps. Must be for my next guest. I'm Roland Bubba Grimes, here on Roland Grimes, not just sports entertainment show, Roland Grimes Show Live. A few minutes ago, I told you folks about I Want My Network here. It has nothing to do with the business side of it, Mark. This is why. The kind of information and the people you will meet here in the networking, come on, man, it is like no other place, not only in this area, any place on the
We've
planet.
learned some amazing things that at an advanced age, over 25, that you think you should know, and it just keeps coming, and you just take it all in.
You know, it was an amazing thing. As I told you all before, you know, I'm a music aficionado, and we had Greg Boyer on here, who, at the time of his death, Chuck Brown had pinned him to be his primary musical arranger. And he also started playing with Parliament Funkadelic at the age of 19. And one day he was playing on a dirt floor in La Plata, Maryland, or Browns Road, Maryland. And then 2 days later, he was playing in front of 15,000 people in Alabama. So overnight, he went from one place to another. And for him to tell his story about what it takes and what it took for him to make that kind of adjustment, you don't get to see that on CNN. You don't get to see that on other networks. You get to see that on a program like this. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce my next candidate for office. I'm going to give her a chance to give you all of a VTech. And she's going to talk about the office that she's running as well. But if you would, I'm going to try to get this pronunciation right. Put your hands together for Miss Terry Goolsby. How was that? That was perfect? I finally got something perfect.
Don't get excited.
Please, I'm going to mess up for us all
There's
over.
always more time.
Terry, can I ask you a question? What office are you running for?
I am running for State Senate in the 25th Legislative District here in Maryland. It includes Suitland, Morningside, Largo, Forestville, Largo, I said that.
Upper Marlboro too?
Upper Marlboro, Temple Hill, and District Heights, Forest, I said Forest.
Capitol Heights?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because you have such a large territory geographically and so many people. I noticed since I last saw you, you lost like 37 pounds since I last saw you.
Well, thank you.
You've been beating the street. Matter of fact, when I last talked to you, you were at Shoppers Warehouse in
Yes, that was last night.
last night.
Yeah.
Now tell me about that. Just give us some insight. What happens when you go to a place like that and people aren't expecting you and you get a chance to talk to them about whatever the heck it is you want to talk to them about? What is that experience like?
Actually, that wasn't a good question because I shopped there and I've been shopping there for 14 or 15 years.
I finally asked a bad question.
Didn't take long.
And frankly, I used to shop there more, but it got too expensive, and so I had to go down the street to Aldi. So I only go there for a few products now.
So when you went back to talk to the people at Shoppers, they told you to go back to Aldi's?
I wasn't even shopping at Shoppers that night. I was using the table to spread out a map of the district and meeting with my colleague. So.
Now, how difficult is it to put together a team of volunteers when you're running a race that has primarily what we would consider local significance? How difficult is that?
I'm coming to this from a very peculiar perspective.
That's why I have you here.
Yeah. So I wasn't, I truly wasn't really interested in running for politics or running for this state. I'm a renewable energy business developer, and I have a nonprofit that is engaged in finding grants to do programs with schools in the district and getting jobs for people in the district. And when that effort got too slow and things weren't too remote and I didn't have control over what was happening, the deadline for filing for state senate came, and I had considered it, and so I put my hat in the ring. And I've been accused of not being in it to win it, which translates to that I'm not prepared to spend $20,000 or more, something like that, on a campaign. And that's one of my personal pet peeves that I don't think politics should be about money. I think that right before I put my hat in the ring, there was a McCutcheon decision. The Supreme Court came down with a decision that said at the federal level that individuals and businesses could spend as much money as they wanted in free speech on campaigns. And that made me recoil, and I challenged.
That's a dangerous precedent.
I made it a challenge that I was going to do it, and I'm not interested in collecting funds or spending funds. And under those circumstances, trying to put a team together is really difficult. There are people who emulate or who profess to be, oh, you know, this is a really great idea, I want to help you, but they don't follow through. And at this point, I'm so glad that I'm doing what I'm doing every day. I learn something new, and I meet new people, and I feel like I'm winning every day. And like just being on this show with Mr. Grimes is wonderful for him. It's wonderful for you. It's wonderful for Everlasting Life. We're all in this community, and so this is like a benefit that's just exploding from someone stepping up and doing this work.
Like that.
Well, he is a Mr. Grimes, right?
He is.
Well, I ain't Mrs.
Can I say
Grimes.
Bubba?
You call me Bubba.
Okay.
Now, based on what you're saying and your platform, not to do what most people do and get a bunch of money and run for the sake of the money, running for the purpose. And your platform now, you talked about what your business was. What is your platform now?
So the platform is to bring renewable energy jobs to Prince George's County. Renewable energy is defined as, and it's defined as by the American Council on Renewable Energy. There are a lot of definers, but that's the one that I seize on. It's defined as waste not, efficiency, solar, wind, geothermal, ocean wave, biomass, biofuels, the design and infrastructure for electric vehicles, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, biofuel vehicles. It's transmission lines,
Well, you're a pro at this.
smart grid, battery technology, and I just ran out of energy to say there are probably a lot of other things. Folks are getting these jobs all over the country and all over the world, and we need to bring them here to Prince George's County. What my nonprofit, Close Energy, its mission realizes that if you don't know about a sector, then you can't see yourself in the sector. You can't gear your career that way. You can't take coursework, you can't network, because you just don't know about it. And so the mission of my nonprofit is to inform Prince Georgians, starting from like pre-K to college and adults, about the types of jobs that are out there. I believe once we have a job, or we see ourselves in a job, then we realize that there's policy involved in protecting that job, or incentivizing that job, or making that job be real and be available. And the policy is at the local, state, and federal levels. And so that's where the legislative role comes in. It's critical that Maryland has legislators that know that there are jobs out there that they have to go out and seek and bring into Maryland. And Prince George's County has to know that there are jobs out there that they have to incentivize and bring into Prince George's County, because if they don't know they're there, they're not going to work at it. And then so once you have the job and you have the legislative policy, then you become a consumer of those products. And that's how you scale those industries up so that they compete with fossil fuels and nuclear and support everlasting life's concept of world, and that we're all made of the same atoms, and that we need to protect that, and we need to protect the balance on our earth. It sounds fuzzy and warm and all that stuff, but the way that I've come to it is through jobs. I want to start there, and there are enough of them to go around. It's a great place to start.
Well, there's enough space to create it in Prince George's County in the state of Maryland. One thing we don't lack is land. Folks, we're going to deviate a little bit at this moment before we wrap up. I'm actually going to open the floor to questions now, and then we'll do our closing, and we'll get ready for my next guest, and I have Terry, extend an invitation for Terry to come back and spend a little more time with us when she can. Questions?
Yes.
I love the fact that you brought up about the renewable energy, because that's one thing that, for example, I sit on a ministry board of social justice and social action at my church in Jubilee, and is in Greenville. And we went to a meeting, a renewable energy meeting, and my purpose of wanting to attend that on behalf of the church, because I believe in being self-sustaining, which makes so much sense, because look at what has been going on that has resulted to our environment and our lifestyle today, and you don't see a future in that, or at least the future that will be is going to be less sunshine and more clouds. So for us to really, focus on that and really understand that this is something that we need to implement, because it's kind of like residual income. I remember when I first found out what that was. Before, I just watched my parents and I just knew that you do this, you get that, you do it. So it's just like creating the world into a business, and it will sustain in itself. Now, I don't know probably as much as you know about it. I'm still learning and diving in. But just to be in the environment of people that are conscious of it, that excites me right there. But I'm very glad that you brought that up. I'm glad that people all over the world on the internet hearing that, and that's going to not just be conversations no more. It's going to be works put into what we're talking about. But that's not really a question, but I just wanted to make that statement.
And from an education standpoint, we may have to spend some time doing a workshop about renewable energy and aspects of job development and the course that we may have to take as a nation moving forward, and what adjustments need to be made. Because just as I came to this restaurant to start eating here, I was not aware of some of the impact that the food that I was eating was having on my cells. Now, y'all saw it because my cells got bigger. I didn't see it because I saw it over time, but as I watched the documentaries that play here during the day, Sister Bay, I see now that my cells were dying from the food that I was consuming, and now they're coming back alive, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Question, Miss Lady.
What particular sectors are you focusing most on in Prince George's County? Because I have an interest in it. For 2 years, I worked with the organization Greater Washington City Twin Cities Coalition, and it was dealing with alternative fuels and looking at biodiesel, electric, hydrogen, propane, natural gas as alternatives, to fossil fuels. And so, what sectors are you kind of focusing more so? Because it's very diverse, and they all play a different part in the overall picture.
They are diverse, so I gave you a definition of the scope of them.
Right.
The state of Maryland, our governor actually got legislation passed in 2013, the offshore wind bill. And so the state of Maryland is competing with other states along the eastern seaboard to initiate a brand new industry of offshore wind. The wind turbines are like 8 megawatts, 7 or 8 megawatts. The span of the blades is big enough for a Boeing 747 to fly through. And if you can think about how big that is, the structures that need to be planted in the ocean floor are huge. They all involve welding. The Europeans started offshore wind back in 1991, the Danish. They monopolized that, and there are these little teeny tiny projects on our eastern seaboard in like off the shore of Ocean City. That is a huge place to start because it's there's legislation to encourage benefits to Marylanders in the supply chain. They say that the operations and management, once the things are built and installed, the operations and management through time for that industry is going to be 20% of the dollar value. And so the supply chain is electricians, divers, boaters, helicopters, small parts, new technology. So research and development in our universities, and that in itself is enough to drive. Close Energy had a job fair at Suitland Elementary last August, and I invited an international offshore wind developer, the owner and manager of the county's landfill methane to electricity program, which has been powering our corrections facility here in the county since 1986. Okay, I think what happened in 1986, it was taboo to talk about landfills, and we did this thing. But today, the installation, the managing, the tapping of it, the documenting of the methane that comes out of the landfill and turns into electricity, that industry is growing all over the country and all over the world. And we have it right here. People don't even know about it. But our owner and our managers, it's a Fairfax company that manages it for us. Okay, they're going all over the country getting residuals for teaching other companies about the technology and the jobs and how to do it. And that's getting duplicated in Africa. Wherever you see people picking out of dumps and out of they're not landfills there. That's the market for taking what we've been doing since 1986 and duplicating it there.
We have time for one more quick question, and then we're going to give Terry a break and move on. Sir.
You have a website?
No, I don't have enough money to do that yet. It's in the works.
And how can we find out more
About what?
about renewable energy?
Well, renewable energy is all over the place, and you can get, when you Google it, that's part of the problem. When you were talking about the sustainability, those terms started back in the 60s and the 70s on the West Coast, and it means a whole lot of different things to different people. And if you say green energy or green technology, that's like, I think people use the term green as a weapon almost. As not even as a catch-all, as a weapon to prevent you from getting to the real nut of it. The word sustainable is another one. And when you say renewable energy, it's so specific, and it means, it doesn't mean natural gas. Okay? It means these technologies that I'm talking about that are brand new, that have no legislative support not enough in the state, certainly not enough in our congressional nation here. And folks across the world are doing it. We talk about the U.S. being a leader. Well, we've lost. We're not the leaders in it. Other nations are the leaders in it, and we need to play catch up, thanks to our federal folks.
So we're going to.
There's not a book that you can recommend?
Sorry?
There's not a book that you can recommend that give us this?
I'm really interested in his process for writing a book. There are many, and if you're interested in offshore wind, there's a local author, Markian Melnick, wrote a book, and he's the father of this offshore wind industry. And I think it might be called like Offshore Wind or something like that. He wrote it in 2009, and that will tell you about wind and some other things as well. It's kind of comprehensive, and it's something that I would resort to if I were looking for details to support my positions.
Okay, folks. You do me a favor. I'm going to wrap things up on this segment of the Roland Grimes Show. Do me a favor, if you would, put your hands together for Miss Terry Gould. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon.